Hello, I'm Ken Carter, and I have the honor of serving as the resident bishop of the Western North Carolina Conference of the United Methodist Church.
And I'm Kim Ingram, and I'm the conference secretary of the annual conference.
The Book of Discipline contains the law, doctrine, administration, organization, and procedures of the United Methodist Church. Part 1 of the Book of Discipline contains the Constitution of the Church, which includes the foundation and organization. To make changes to the Constitution of the Church, the process begins with the General Conference, the top lawmaking body of our church, that met last spring in Charlotte. There's a legislative process to consider the proposed changes or petitions. The full body of General Conference votes on the petitions. A 2/3 majority of the voting delegates must vote in favor of the change for a constitutional amendment to be adopted. If a petition passes by the 2/3 requirement, then it must be voted on by all of the annual conferences around the world. Across all the annual conferences, if 2/3 of all of those laity and clergy members voting vote in favor, the Council of Bishops announces that it has become church law.
The 2024 General Conference delegates approved 4 constitutional amendments that will now come to annual conferences for consideration. The Western North Carolina Conference will vote on them at annual conference on Friday, June 20th in the afternoon session. The paragraph references are all in the 2016 Book of Discipline because this section of the 2024 Book of Discipline hasn't yet been approved for change. If the constitutional amendments pass, they won't be published in the Book of Discipline until 2028, though they will go in effect after the Council of Bishops announces the results. We will now tell you a bit more about each of the amendments that will be considered. Our hope is that our conference will give a strong affirmation to regionalization for reasons that we will identify now.
First, the topic is world regionalization. The goals are to honor who we are as a worldwide denomination, to honor the contextual mission worldwide, Europe, the Philippines, Africa, and the United States, to allow United Methodists to best serve their unique communities, to relate to each other on a more equal basis, and to allow us to continue to connect and be in ministry together all around the world. This moves us away from a U.S.-centered church with outposts around the world toward a truly worldwide denomination with each region able to make some independent decisions. Regionalization was proposed to the General Conference by the Committee on Central Conference Matters. It was originated by a worldwide representative committee of the church.
The General Conference proposed that the denomination have 8 regional conferences. Each will have the authority to maximize the effectiveness of their mission and ministry by adapting portions of the Book of Discipline based on their context and cultures. Currently, there are 7 central conferences, which are the regional bodies outside of the United States. So each of these will become a regional conference, and the United States will also become a regional conference. So the 8 conferences would be Africa, Congo, West Africa, Central and Southern Europe, Germany, Northern Europe and Eurasia, the Philippines, and the United States. Examples of what a region could do within their regional conference. They could establish a regional book of discipline, which would set standards and qualifications for clergy and specialized lay ministers. They could publish a regional hymnal with adapted rituals. They could adapt structures for missional contexts, and they could change chargeable offenses and their penalties.
What will not change with regionalization? We will still have General Conference, a Judicial Council, the Council of Bishops, and general boards and agencies that serve the entire denomination. We will continue to share one constitution with the same doctrinal standards, the articles of religion, confession of faith, our theological task, Christian ministry, and social principles. These are not adaptable by regional conferences. They will still be subject to the same process of revising the Constitution that we are now going through. Values of regionalization include equity between regions, decentering the United States, respect for contextual ministry settings, agency, the power to make decisions and lead with integrity, unity that is redefined and strengthened, focus on mission and ministry, stewardship of all gifts, maintaining our Wesleyan theological doctrine and identity.
There are 28 paragraphs that will be affected by this change in the Constitution. In the printed publications of Annual Conference, there will be over 14 pages on which this amendment is presented. You will first find the marked up version with the current language struck through and the proposed language underlined. And then following that, you will find a clean version of what the Book of Discipline would look like if the changes are approved. This is true for all of the amendments. You'll see the marked up version first that makes the changes clear, and then you'll see the clean version which indicates what the new version would look like. The primary change is to replace the language of jurisdictions and central conferences with regional conferences. And then you'll also see some additional language for explanation and clarification. In the United States, we would still be divided into 5 jurisdictions for now. The Western North Carolina Conference is part of the Southeastern jurisdiction. In the new language, there is some clarification about how the jurisdictions will continue to operate, which is basically like they do now.
In paragraph 4, Article 4 of the Constitution, there is the title, Inclusiveness in the Church. If you have a Book of Discipline, you can find this on page 26. The full paragraph will also be printed in the annual conference materials. Currently, it reads that the United Methodist Church acknowledges all persons are of sacred worth, and all persons shall be eligible to participate in worship and programs, receive the sacraments, and become members, regardless of race, color, national origin, status, or economic condition. This amendment proposes to add that persons cannot be excluded from full participation in the church based on their gender or ability. The words gender and ability would be added to the paragraph. So, a pastor may not deny a person membership or participation in the church because they have a disability, are female or male, married or single, young or old.
Third amendment that we will consider is racial justice. Paragraph 5, Article 5 of the Constitution is titled Racial Justice. And the changes being proposed to this article of the Constitution are more direct and unequivocal in both denouncing racism and declaring that the United Methodist Church must live as an actively anti-racist institution. The first sentence would read, with the changes, the United Methodist Church proclaims that from God's goodness and love, God created all persons as God's unique and beloved children. This shortens and more directly proclaims what is currently printed. The rest of the paragraph is unchanged and goes on to talk about the harm of racism, the destructive nature of racism historically and within the United Methodist Church, and the ways racism interferes with God's work in the world. The paragraph ends by saying, the United Methodist Church commits to confronting and eliminating all forms of racism, racial inequity, colonialism, white privilege, and white supremacy in every facet of its life and in society at large. This sentence strengthens our commitment to the equality of all persons, each of us created in God's image.
Paragraph 35, Article 4. This addresses the election of clergy delegates to General Conference. Currently, it reads that local pastors who have completed the course of study or who have an MDiv degree and have served for 2 years can vote on the clergy delegates to General Conference. The changes being proposed are twofold. Instead of MDiv, it writes out Master of Divinity degree, a technical change. It clarifies that the Master of Divinity must be from a United Methodist University Senate approved theological school in the U.S. conferences, or the equivalent in conferences outside the United States. This is consistent with all other language in the Book of Discipline and clergy processes related to denominational expectations for theological education. Each of us, Kim and I, have been engaged in the conferencing of our United Methodist Church in this season. We believe regionalization will create structures that help us toward the fulfillment of our mission statement to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world.
So we've given you information about the constitutional amendments. Now we want to tell you what to expect at annual conference. On Friday afternoon at the conference meeting, we will distribute paper ballots, and you'll need a pencil or a pen to mark your ballot. We will count the ballots after returning home from annual conference, and we'll send our totals in to be added to all the other annual conference votes. We're not allowed to share the outcome of our vote because overall approval is based on an aggregate count. We will not know until November, when the Council of Bishops meets, whether they passed. The amendments cannot be amended by annual conferences. There will be a brief period of discussion, and then we will vote. Annual conference members will vote yes or no for each one. Clergy in full connection, active or retired, and all lay members of conference are eligible to vote. We encourage you to get your answers to your questions before coming to conference. In addition to this video, we are making available a good deal of information about the proposed constitutional changes. Each district will host an event where you can hear more and ask questions. As well, there will be an online virtual opportunity to ask questions before we get to Lake Junaluska in June. There are videos and web pages with more information posted at www.ac2025.org. You'll see a link at the top of the column on the left side of the page. The proposed changes will be included in the Program and Reports book and the supplement, as well as posted online. All the Western North Carolina delegates to the General Conference last year should be also able to answer your questions. And you're welcome to email me if I can help in any way.